What up, Nine?
Trapaholics Mixtapes.
As the 9% and word would say, make a better you, a better us.
Fuck being rational, give them what they ask for.
Who do you think you are? I'm the word. Boy, I'm the one who put in the work.
When I move, it's an earthquake rumble. I will never ever fall, never stumble. And I don't need to be humble. Break down walls like Jericho crumble.
Well, so it's the word. You see the title. We about to get into it. But do me a favor. If you're new, hit that like and subscribe. Check it out. It's free to you, but it means the world to me, right? Oh man, let me do that. Yeah, do that for me, man. Hit that like, man. Hit that subscribe if you new, bro. It's free. Like it don't cost you a thing. Just it costs you a second, bro. It won't even take more than a second. Go ahead and do it for your boy. All right, that being said, check this out. Let me get into the chat. My bad. I'm trying to do like three things at once, bro. Almost done though. My brother Gary Busted Down Brown is in the building. What it do with business is, man. Okay, I got that done. I got that transition. Yeah, man, I ain't gonna keep y'all long. I'm here for a good time. Hopefully not a long time. I'm not gonna be long. But yeah. Title of today's show. Hold on, I got to put my glasses on so I can see. It's levels to this, right? It's levels to life, right? It's levels to life. We've been talking the last couple of days. We talked about group thinking yesterday. We had a great conversation with D Shep. Shout out to my brother. Appreciate my bro for having that, setting that example. You know, we create a topic, then we oftentimes present the example so people can actually experience what I'm saying. So I love it, and it's not scheduled. Like that was not planned, right? It just happened, but that's how it usually happen over here, right? We usually set the example of what we're saying. So actually experiencing, it, right? Having difference of opinions, but still being connected, right? And that's what it's about, right? Is individually thinking for yourself. Because a lot of times, the things that we know was told to us, whether we read it out of a book or was verbally told. I like to use this, and it's no science to it. It's just my own personal opinion. I always feel like 80% of what people know is what they was told, and 20% is what they figured out. Through my life experience and observing myself and others, I realized that there's a high percentage, even if it ain't 80, it could be 75, 70, whatever. More than likely, what people know is what they were told. It's not what they found out by themselves. Most of the stuff that we know, the way we our current perception is structured, is predicated upon what we experienced when we was younger. So that was when you think about that, we were told a lot of stuff. We went to school, learned a lot of stuff. How many things that you was told in school later on you found out not to be true, right? Through experience, through you living life. You run across some information or you experienced and it wasn't the same. I mean, prime example, Christopher Columbus founded America. We was told that for years. Now like the kids in today's, school, The way they're being told slavery is totally different from the way it went and the way we learned. But the way they're being taught, they're going to grow up thinking this is how slavery is until they find the information to show otherwise. But even sometimes, because if you look at the end of the title, emotional biases, eliminating emotional biases is the first step of thinking for self. Because what we were told when we were younger, a lot of it we believe in. That term believe, right? We talked about that often, what believe means. And I even did a show why belief is dangerous, right? The shit dangerous, bro. Belief is a process, right? Is a process to get to know. That's how you use it, utilize it or use it. That's how I use belief. Belief is not something I hold for life. Because just like when we was kids, we believed in Santa Claus until we get evidence of otherwise. That's what belief do. You accept something, you hold on to it as true, even though it might not be true, but you hold on to it because you believe it. And even if it's evidence that shows different, because we've been holding on to it so long, sometimes it's hard to let go. And that's what happens as we adults. We have these beliefs from when we was kids. It's how the world is. And even when we shown fact or evidence that is different, it's hard to accept because we had this so long, we're comfortable with it. It feels good. And anything that challenges it feels bad. Feel like you're being attacked. Like you're not literally physically getting attacked when somebody don't agree with your beliefs. They're not physically harming you, but that's how it feels. And people, people get into it for that. Hands and paws be thrown over belief that's not even proven, right? Missing Mod, what it do with the business is, sis? What up, Nine? Bud Files, I hope y'all good, man. I hope the family great. Appreciate y'all. Appreciate y'all. So what holds what holds us stagnated a lot of times is our emotions. It's how we feel about things, right? That will hold us stagnant. That will prevent us from knowing things, you know. So that's how I use. I'm not telling nobody else how to use belief. I'm telling so when I'm questioned, right? Like, do I believe in anything? If you was rocking with me for over a year, you used to hear me say this. I don't believe in nothing. I know it, right? You don't hear me say that no more. You know why? Because somebody challenged me on it. And when they challenged me on it, I had to realize I was wrong. I articulated my process of belief. I articulated it wrong. And they challenged me on it, and I had to admit it was wrong, right? And the reason I admitted it was wrong because I wanted to correct it. Dang, how did my computer go off? Am I still alive? Mic check. Y'all can still hear me? Okay. I don't know why my screen went to standby mode. Anyway, so I used to always say, "Well, I don't believe in nothing. I know it. I know it." But that was wrong, right? And they challenged me, so I had to go back and question myself. Like I had to make myself delineate because that was just surface. Because I knew what I was saying, or I knew what I meant, but that's not what I said. So that I had to challenge that. That's the beautiful that's the beauty of dialogue, I believe, conversation. Having a real intellectual conversation where it's okay to challenge, but like not get disrespectful, because now you can kind of see if your belief holds weight. Because what happens a lot of times, most of the time when it comes to a belief, we get around people who believe the same thing, so that creates an echo chamber in itself, right? But we're never really challenged on it. And when we're not challenged, we would grow up and not being challenged, and we finally challenged, we don't know how to articulate ourselves, right? So what I say now is belief is a process, meaning I believe until I know, right? It's a process. Yeah, everything starts with a belief. By definition, the way belief is accepting something as true. I accept things as true until I test it. I don't even like saying accepting things until it's true. I mean that I don't even like when I think of belief, it's not that I'm accepting it, is I'm aware of it. And now that I'm aware of it, because if I accept it as true, that still creates a biased perception because I'm already saying something is true until it's proven false. And sometimes it is you can get evidence and say, hey, okay, yeah, I thought it was true, but it's not. But a lot of times it's still hard to accept the opposing side, right? Still hard to accept it, So I don't like using the term accept as true when it comes to belief. For me, it's more like a hypothesis. It's something that's presented that I'm aware of. Now I can go analyze or research or do whatever I need to. I can practice, I can observe, I can do these different things to see if it's true, to test it. That's what you're basically doing, right? You're testing it. So that's how I use belief, right? That's how I use belief. So how do you take those emotional biases out, right? Because it's so much happening subconsciously, not only just the conscious level, but the subconscious level. That's where a lot of the belief is stored and built, is on the subconscious level, right? It's really not on the conscious, because if it's on the conscious level, we would be analyzing and testing. And so it's more on the subconscious level that the belief is stored. Um, so like Socrates, y'all familiar with Socrates? We talked about Socrates before. But, so Socrates has something with what he called the Socratic questions, right? So it's 5 questions. And he created these questions to um, defend himself in debates. It's like a great defense weapon in debate, right? So once I read and studied it, I realized like it's not only good to help in debates, but it's also to check yourself, because anything I see, I have a habit of reverse engineering. And I look not only for what it's used for, but by definition, the term utilizing states that using something at its maximum potential, basically, right? So you're using it for more than what it was made for when you utilize things. So as I'm using things, I have a habit of reverse engineering. And when I was going over these theoretic questions, I realized like this is a great way to eliminate my own bias and confirm my own beliefs. So a lot of times, like even when I talk about something, you can hear how confident I am, and I can anything that I know or believe, I can always give you sources and cite. That's because I analyze every fucking thing. Like far as me, like what I believe, what I accept as true, I have to test it myself. And I use these for years to test my own thought, my ideas. Like even if I come up with an idea or concept, this is the method I use to test it, right? So I'm gonna share. Well, I'm not gonna put them on the thing. We just gonna talk about it. But I'm gonna share 5. If y'all want to see it, like for me to put it up on the screen or something, I can do that. But yeah, right now I'm not. So the first question, right? How do you know it's true? So when I have an idea or concept, um, or belief, let's say I have a belief or something that I claim that I know. How do I know that's true? Right? What evidence or what experience have I had to say, hey, this is true or this is right? Right? I ask myself that. Like, how do I know this is true? So right off the back, I'm testing. I'm looking for evidence. And you critique the evidence, right? When you find evidence, is the way you critique it, right? I'm gonna get into a little bit of that later, but how do you? That's the first thing. How do you know something is true? Ask yourself that. If you believe in something, how do I know it's true? Where did I get the evidence from? Was it something that I researched and I found on my own? Was it something somebody told me? Was it something I read out of a book? You know what most people do when they read books? You know what they don't do? They don't research the writer of the book. Do you know how many books were written from biased perspectives? A lot of science was taught in a biased perspective. A lot of this stuff was because the author they had a biased perspective when writing. For something to be true, it just take a group of people to accept it. That's all it takes. That's that group thinking we was talking about. So it's groups of people who think Satan is Lord, right? Who think Satan is God. It's groups of people who think like that. Like think about all the different religions that we have. Now, if there's only one true God, why do all these religions exist? You know why? Because people accepted it. They just accepted it. Whether it was true or not, they accepted it. It's true to them. It's true to them, but it may not be true if it's tested, right? It may not. That's just reality, right? So truth is what people truly accept. It's not based off of fact. People always try to allude truth to fact, and it's not. Truth is not based on fact. Truth is what you accept. They articulate it in a definition, but when you look at the meaning, the definition and the meaning is two different things. The meaning of a word differs from the definition of the word because of the meaning. And you can look this up yourself. The meaning of a word heavily depends on a person's experience, the individual experience, not collective experience, but the individual experience. That's what words mean to people. Now, the definition is a standardized concept, but how it's used always differs. Like love, right? You have a standard understanding of love, but when you ask people what does love mean to them, they explain probably 9 times out of 10 an experience they had, and they explain an experience. Love means sacrifice. I heard people say that. Love means loyalty. I heard people say that. Love means devotion, but that's not the definition. That's the meaning. That's the person's personal experience, right? So that's what often happens when we talk about vernacular, right? People will uh, base things off their personal experience, but if we're talking, that's why we need context. Anyway, I don't want to get too far. But what is true? So you have to ask yourself, how do I know this true? What evidence do I have? For instance, if I was told something when I was young, right? I grew up my whole life believing this, and then I was presented evidence that shows opposite. So now I got to think, like, where did I get this belief from? Oh, then you start thinking like, well, my crazy ass auntie told me that, right? So maybe, even though I've been holding on to this belief, I got to think of the source of it. I never really researched or looked at it myself. They present evidence to show what I think is false, but my crazy ass aunt actually told me this. That's where I got it from. That's how I know it's true. That's what made it true because it was an adult, influential figure who gave me the information, and I held on to it and practiced it half my life. Now that I'm grown, I realized it was wrong. It was wrong. But that's a person accepting, um, open minded. That's people open minded, willing to accept something different from what they know. So that's the first question, right? Test it to see if it's true. See if you'll see where you got it from. You know, what evidence do you have that what you believe or what you think is true? Even when you're coming up with a new idea or concept, right? What makes this true? We all have crazy ideas, right? And it sound good and it feel good, but you have to ask, so what evidence do I have that it is good? Did I do an observation? Did I put it to practice? Did I play it? Is it evidence out there as far as research that proves what I think is right? Is different ways to find out how to test your own ideas or your own belief. There's ways. You just got to be open minded. Anyway, part. So the second question is that what assumptions are within my idea, or what am I assuming about my idea or belief? Right. So now, like we asked ourselves what is true, right? So as we're defining what is true, we begin to identify what we assume, right? Now we're identifying, okay, damn, I did assume this. I had no evidence. It made sense. When I was thinking, it made sense. Now I ain't gonna use the term logical or critical, but I thought it sounded good. It looked it good. It felt good, but it was an assumption. It was an assumption. I assumed this. I never really looked for it or found evidence that it was true. I just assumed it. Maybe because a lot of people said it. So I assumed it had to be true if everybody agreed with it. There has to be truth to it, right? Everybody agreeing with it. Everybody can be wrong. Everybody can be wrong, especially in an echo chamber. Like when we put ourselves in these boxes, when we identify ourselves with different things, as far as religion, politics, those are boxes. So it has a set of ideologies attached to it. And sometimes we don't even know where they come from. We don't know the origins of those beliefs we accept within those boxes, right? So a lot of that creates assumptions. We begin to assume things. Like you you uh you'll talk to somebody, just say like I don't want to put him out there. I was about to put my brother out there, but it's been times where I talk to people who had a certain faith. We'll just say it like that, right? And they said something. I'm like, well, that's not factual. Well, yes, it is. I was told it, and I'm like, that's an assumption, but you was told. So have you ever seen that there? No. So then you go look, and it's something totally different. But the whole time they was assuming because people told them it sounded good. It sounded like it go together. It made sense. But the reality is an assumption and it's until proven otherwise. Until you see evidence of something, that's an assumption. And look, just like assumption starts with ASS. 9 times out of 10, when you do it, you make yourself look like an ass. So there's no point of assuming or having assumptions because it's 50-50 chance you're going to look like an ass, right? Now, the third question, right? We're going to call it perception shifting, right? Shifting the perception. So think of it like this. Can you argue the opposing side? So when you have an idea or a belief, do you know what someone who doesn't believe in it hardcore, what they say about it? This is another way to not only test your beliefs, but to reaffirm your belief. Always knowing what the opposing side's argument is, because that's how everything gets tested. That's how it gets tested. Even if you're testing it, that's how you can test your belief. Look at the opposing side and see if that makes sense. This is how you eliminate. This is how you eliminate being having an emotional bias perception. It's by actually looking at the opposing side and see if the opposing side has any validity. See if the opposing side makes sense. Their truth isn't the truth. Yeah, some people don't need to understand. Yeah, but test the opposing side, right? See if the opposing side makes sense, if it has any validity to it, and then you get a understanding of um how, for me, like I noticed when I did this, I got more clarity of why my belief or my knowing of something. I got a clarity of why it's hard for other people to accept it. When I looked at their opposing side, when I looked at the opposing side, especially when it comes to like accountability, right? I understood why people don't take accountability or why it's hard for people to be accountable for themselves versus blaming other people for their problems. I understood why when I looked at the opposing side. So the next question is this: where we at? 3, 4? No, we have four. Yeah. What are logical consequences of your belief? Like, where does your belief lead? What does it lead to? Does it lead to something beneficial or does it lead to something detrimental? Like, I give you an example, right? I was listening. Shout out to Speak Easy. I was listening to Speak Easy the other day, and he had somebody on the panel trying to argue, being practicing anarchy, right? He was an anarchist, right? I guess he said he was in, Speak. Ask a simple question, right? How are you going to enforce anything, right? And that question ripped his whole freaking idea of anarchy. Like it made his whole idea sound stupid, right? Because like Speak was saying, like if you don't know what anarchy is, it's like lawlessness. There's no laws. There's no one there to enforce laws. Everybody kind of, you got to handle yourself, right? And he was like, "Well, I just pay someone. Like, pay who you gonna pay? Like, what if I got more money? What if the people that I have are bigger and stronger than your people? And if we have more money, then we just take over uh your area, your space, your resources with no consequence." And that's fact. That's fact. That's like shit. Damn near the jungle. You know. I used to like when I heard the concept of anarchist, I was like, "Oh, I like that." Right. And then like when you start thinking like, "Oh no, that shit won't work. That shit won't work." Like if this is considered a civilization, I mean, shit. Imagine it's the people with power, not even money, bro. Money. I don't even think at that point money will matter because people can just take your shit. If they got more people and they stronger, they more equipped and like for battle, then they just take whatever you. What you gonna do? You gonna throw money at them? They go take your money. There's no structure. There's no law. There's no order. Right. So I'm pretty sure before that dude ran into Speak, he challenged. This is what most people do too. Right. They get themselves soft challenges when they opposing their ideas or beliefs. It's a soft challenge. It's nothing hard. That's why I say you got to look at the opposite side and find the most rigorous person opinion, like the thing that completely mirrors or opposes your point or your belief or your idea. The thing that completely opposes, it, not something soft. Because what happens is, when I, like I said, when our beliefs get challenged, we get defensive, right? But if you know your shit, that's the dangerous in belief, right? In itself, because you're accepting something that's true. So now if you present it with something opposing your belief and you don't know it, because knowing is different from believing. Knowing is totally different from believing. Knowing something and believing something is two totally different things. And knowing I'm not accepting, I have facts, I have evidence, I have things to prove. So if I have that and somebody opposes me, I can just present the evidence. That's where the confidence, that's where the not getting emotional comes from. Because I know my shit. And if I don't know it, I'm humble enough to say shit. Let me learn some more, or tell me. Put me on the path if I don't know it. But that's what knowing does. That's what eliminating belief does. Even if what I think I know is wrong, I'm okay to accept because the whole goal is to find fact. Is to find. I don't like using the term truth, but to find out what's right. Not me being right, but it's the whole goal is to me to find out what's right. That's the whole goal. But beliefs can be held and keep you intellectually stagnated. That's what beliefs can do. I'm not saying it always does, but beliefs like and this is what I tell people. Uh, Even in the Bible, it states, God states, "My people will be destroyed for lack of knowledge of Him, of me." Right? Man, hold on. Oh yeah, that even the Bible says that my people would be destroyed for lack of knowledge. Then you go down the whole the context of what he was saying was because it do say you can't be priest. I forget about you, but he was saying my people would be destroyed of lack of knowledge. Then he went in talking about how the priest can't be a part of him not knowing his law. Like you can't be priest. You can't be uh, someone saying you're of God if you don't know God. That's what he was saying. You can't say you know God if you're not of God. If you don't know God, you can't be of God. That's what he was saying in that. Because the priests represent the church, right? The church represent God. So you don't know my law. It's nothing to do with belief. It's all about knowledge and knowing. Right? So that's where we at with that, right? Those are the five Socratic questions that you can ask yourself, and it helps you better define your beliefs, right? Because you're challenging yourself, or you can use them what it was made for. You can use that to challenge other people's perspectives to see where they at, right? Because most people function out of that realm of belief. That's where most people function out of. Most people function off what they believe, not what they know. You know, what they turn their beliefs into what they know. That's what most people do. But then when you challenge it, that's why they get defensive because they can't articulate it. They can't explain it. You know what I'm saying? And that's why a lot of times people need validation outside themselves. They need other people to accept their same beliefs or ideas. And that gives them validation. And they think it's confirmation that they right, but it's really not. It's just simply validation. Not confirmation. It's not saying it's true. It's just saying that other people accept it also. Right? That's all it's really saying. It's like, oh no, and that's what creates the echo chamber. That's what creates the echo chamber. And eventually that creates group thinking, you know. And eventually that's what it creates group thinking. Right. And like I said, if the thought is factual, then there's nothing wrong with people standing on facts. But when it's emotional based, and that's where belief comes from. I mean, that acceptance, that's an belief is emotion. Belief is an emotion. It's something you feel. It ain't something that logically or consciously makes sense. It's something you feel. You know, we believe in things until we show otherwise. It's just what we feel. So people attach intuition to belief a lot. Um, just listen to people speak. How you know something is my intuition. That's their belief. And you ask us, you really believe that? Yeah, I believe it. They accepted it as true because of the way they feel. That's what they tell it. That's what that translates into. Even when people when they don't have no facts, bro. It's just the way they feel, and their feeling's always right. That's their belief. That's a belief, but that's a feeling, bro. That's why I say, like, yeah. I don't know. I mean, yeah. Like once I understood that, that's why I say emotions change, but facts remain the same. Facts gonna be facts. You know, the way we feel that can change at any time. You know, but that's how you eliminate your own bias. Make sure you ain't emotional or being biased about something. You ask yourself those five questions about whatever you believe, or even when you create an idea, is a great way to test it. It's a great way to test it, right? We talk about critical thinking. You know, I got something coming up soon. 5 ways to help build more discernment and ways to critical think. Well, not 5 ways, 3 questions. Simple, even more simple than these. 3 ways to advance your level of critical thinking and to increase your discernment. Because discernment is rationalizing your intuition, understanding why you feel the way you feel, making sense of it, providing evidence that your feeling is true. That's what discernment is. They try to make it some supernatural stuff because it's in the Bible. But if you talk about application, how it's applied, how it works, that's all the sermon is. Right? Is developing an understanding of your feeling, the way you feel. I don't know why my laptop keep going into dark again. But this is annoying. I wonder if it's because of the portrait mode or the way I went live. Right. Everybody got anything to say? The link is on the community wall. I think I pinned it too if y'all want to pop up and rock out with your boy for a minute. If not, man, I ain't got too much of it. I ain't got nothing else to say, man. I ain't really got nothing else to say. Ain't too much interacting. I mean, there's only one person in the chat, and I think that's me. Oh, never mind. I'm not even in my own chat. This channel is dead, dead, dead. Yeah. But yeah, I ain't gonna be on too much longer, man. Oh, you got somebody just looking. Maybe I need to turn my camera on, huh? Well, you got somebody just looking in the. I scrolled down. There's somebody just looking into the video, bro. There's somebody just looking into the camera, and they got like 30 people in there. I'm like, damn, maybe I need to turn my camera on. I turn my camera on, bro. Y'all might dip. You can't even see me. I'm laying on my cup, and I ain't about to sit up. I'm good. Hold on, let me see if I can. Yeah, let's go keep going in and out. I'm too far away from. Yeah, I can just leave it. But Mr. 33, what to do with the business is, my brother?
Mic check, mic check. All right, I'm live. No, I don't. I don't disagree with what
Not
you're
with the
talking
word.
about. I don't disagree with
Oh,
what you're
my bad.
talking about. No, I'm good. You good? I'm just, asking questions. How much does discernment play into the role from believing to like for it to elevate to either knowing or faith or whatever? How much of a role does discernment play in that?
Um, so like the best way I can explain discernment is so like when we say discernment, like people equate that even equate it to the third eye, right? They say, "Oh, my third eye open, my discernment or whatever." So what people often call discernment is truly only their intuition. It's just a gut feeling they get. So it's like knowing something without knowing something, right? That's intuition. But a lot of times intuition can be off, right? Because we feel something, but most people don't know why they feel that way. So discernment is getting to the why, is explaining the feeling. And discernment has to do with critical thinking. And when you talking about a feeling and thinking, you when you put it to like when you look at the process, okay, if I'm feeling something and I'm critically thinking why, what am I doing? What is that process? I'm identifying how I feel. That's all it is you're identifying your feeling, understanding the feeling. Because you can have a gut feeling like, man, this don't feel right. But guess what? It can be you, not anything around you. It can be you. You can be doing the wrong thing, and that's why you got a bad feeling. Versus somebody else about to do the wrong thing to you. Because a lot of
Mm,
times, look how people describe discernment. Usually, it's when somebody's doing something behind their back, right? That's what I know. This person, my discernment is always when somebody is doing something to them. How many people have discernment when they're doing something? How often do you hear that? My discernment told me I was doing something wrong. Never that.
mm.
So
I
if your
never looked at it
discernment is
that way.
telling you when somebody else is doing something wrong, why didn't tell you when you're doing something wrong? Or maybe you don't know how to identify it. Maybe you're not truly identifying what it's telling you.
Mm. Yeah, I never looked at it that way. I always thought that discernment was you being able to observe with the remove with the control emotion,
with the
or
removal of
looking
emotion.
at or observing as or like observing with your emotions controlled, like it's not wavering or
Well,
it's not high or whatever the case may be. You can actually observe something, not saying emotionless, but the emotion is not playing that much of a role.
and that's analyzing. You're literally analyzing, looking at something from an unbiased perspective. And usually the bias,
Mm.
what bias is the emotion, how you feel about it, or how the belief. So yeah, that's like analyzing. So yeah, people always. I mean, it is how people apply things. I guess normally when I hear
Mm.
discernment is more like when they explain it is more intuition. And I always tell them like, well, how do you know? Like the question, like, how do you know? How do you know that? Oh, I felt it. My feeling, my gut feeling is always right. Okay, so you felt this before, yeah. So that's the evidence that they give you about how their discernment works. Is because it's a gut feeling and they felt it before, and that prior experience led them to the conclusion that they have now. But that's
Wow.
all assumption. But it's too much assumption. It has nothing to do with critical thinking. It's nothing to do with discernment because discernment is rationalizing that. Even by definition, I can't rebuttal. I can't say it verbatim, but um, even by definition, to tell you, you have to think. It's a process of thinking when it comes to discernment. But most people won't tell you that when they say my discernment. They tell you how they feel. They eliminate the process because they don't know. That's one of the words that people just throw around. It is, bro. It's just
Right.
something that they say because they heard their mama, their daddy, their auntie, their cousin say it. And this is what it means. They never really looked at what it meant, what he said. Shit, I don't think I
Well,
looked
that
up discernment until I was in my 20s. I never looked up the word. I went by what people told me up until I was 20. And I looked it up for myself, like, oh, that ain't what it means.
mm,
So the whole time we put motherfuckers had me practicing shit wrong. You know what I'm saying? But it was their ignorance. I mean,
right.
and that ain't bad. I mean, I don't blame them for it.
Well, then I mean, when you look at it that way, it how do I say this? It makes you into like it looks like people had put faith into their intuition. That's why people, I know it's right, and you know what I mean. I don't know how it gets. Well, I do know how it gets to that level because there's so many people that depend on it. Like the experience of them being right, even though if it's not a majority of the time, the experience of them being right. Now they have faith in their intuition. They have faith in the discernment because the experiences that led them to a right conclusion, or it's given them the right path or the right direction. So I understand how it gets to that point, but that also is the reason why the belief has to elevate into a situation of knowing. The experience allows that to occur, and a lot of that situation, right? Like if you talk about religion, you believe in Jesus, right? And then you have the experience of whatever happens. Now you go to the elevation of, now I know him. I know what he's
Right.
done for
That's your
me. I
evidence.
know. Right.
The,
So that's
the
what people
experience
have to
become your
understand.
evidence.
So right. So that's why a lot of people don't have that experience, because if it doesn't happen, they no longer believe. They just, that was fictitious. That's not what happened in my life, because they didn't get the experience of that situation. They didn't get the experience of God working in their favor. They didn't get the experience of 2 plus 2 being 4. They got a different answer. So now that you didn't experience that, that decreases your belief in the situation to where you no longer have anything about that subject. You don't that subject is irrelevant to you. So now you keep going to the next or keep it going in a different path. But that's just how I view it.
But, like, even rocking out with me, you never really heard me challenge anyone's experience, right?
Right.
I don't challenge people's experiences because I had experience. So their experience might be different from mine, but it's still their experience. So I never challenge people's experiences. Even if I think they wrong or right, I don't challenge it because I don't know. I wasn't there. I can only take in what they're saying. But when it comes to like things we can observe, I always challenge that because if I see something opposite of it, then I can prove it. I have evidence
Right.
that what you're saying is not true. I literally have evidence. I've seen it. Even if I can't recite it verbatim, I've been around the information. I've studied it. I probably forgot more when it comes to certain subjects that most people know. So I can recall things and then I can go back like, well, here you go. I didn't say it verbatim, but this is I got the context of what I was. This is the context. I got the context right. So yeah, yeah. I just don't know. Yeah, it's just I don't know. I had a scintillating conversation today, and it was like it just went like it wasn't about what was right. It was about who was right. And when you get into those conversations, for me, it's like people are hearing and not listening. And I understand, and you can tell when people are emotionally triggered, especially men, especially men, because when men get to repeating themselves, like when they ask you, I don't see how people don't recognize them. Like, why would I ask you a question 3 times before you even can comment? Like, if I would ask you a question, like, how do you know that? And then the person like, well, how do you know that? How do you know that? Like, bro, what? Like, I'm trying to say it. But that's how you know when somebody emotionally triggered because they start repeating themselves, and then they start talking over you. Then they start cutting you off, and then it comes to little shots. You know what I'm saying? But that's normal. Like getting in, most people can't regulate their emotion. That's just it's not taught. It's something that we have to learn on our own, and some people
Hmm.
don't intake the lesson. You know what I'm saying? So it's easy for people to get emotionally triggered. Like just studying behavior, bro. You see that, and it's like if you know it, then there's no purpose of getting upset. You just know how to navigate through it. And most times I just detach. Like I'm sorry, I don't even want to have a conversation anymore. But if somebody you cool with, or you know what I'm saying, you'll work through it. You know what I'm saying? You'll work through
Yeah, I get that too. It's only 2 occasions when someone becomes repetitive. They either can't get an answer or they're getting ready to lie. Right. So
it.
when those type of situations occur, it's like, all right, which now it's not that you're gonna be defensive, it's that you're gonna hear a defensive response to it. You know what I mean? Like, not only
Yeah,
is it triggering, now you're gonna get a defensive response. Like, not how do you know? Well, that never. Well, I had that experience because this, and then, nah, it don't even sound right. It don't even sit well in your understanding because you listening to understand. So now, all right, they making this up. All right, cool. But you're good. Keep talking. And then when you rebut what they say and show that it's wrong, then they ain't got no more firepower to continue the conversation. They'll switch the subject so quickly that you they trying to make you forget what the conversation was in the first place. So it's like I said, a lot of people got to understand that in life, the most important thing in life is elevation, right? If you understand, like, but to me, this is why I always say belief is like to me, right? Because you start believing is like at a base level, right? Okay, I believe in this. I believe I like this individual, right? And then as you go on in the process and the time is kicked in and all of these things, there has to be an elevation because if it's stagnated where it's at, you're not going to go no further than where it's at, right? So, all right, I can't be with this person because I can't see nothing happening or growing into a better situation. So I'm gonna get rid of this person or this religion or whatever the situation is. There has to be an elevation. Most of life is elevation, but because we don't understand, because we have grown tactics and grown situations, nothing seems to grow because they stunt their own growth. That's why I constantly tell people you have to continue to grow because once you grow, all levels of elevation is going to stop, and that's in this situation as well, in my opinion.
Like even like we saying, similar things because like you said, like belief, you have to elevate from belief to knowing. What I'm telling people, belief is a process of knowing. Like that's a process you go
Mhm.
through to learn, to know. So it's the same thing. So we both agree in that belief is not the end all be all. Like you have to go beyond that. For me, it's just a simple process. I believe until I know. Same thing. You believe until you elevate into knowing. So, but that just shows you can think for yourself. Writers in the building. Oh, that's it, right. I can't see. Don't mind me. I seen the R. I thought it said writers. Yeah,
I don't know what's
but
going on. Chat, where you at?
but but that's what it is, man. But what happens is, we it's more emotional than it becomes our belief is how we feel, bro. And like, oh, this is what I wanted to say when I heard you talk. I'm gonna give y'all a cheat code to know if somebody know what the fuck they're talking about or if they don't. Right? This is a cheat code. And y'all practice it on me anytime. At any time after this video, during this video, practice the shit on me, bro. And I'm telling you, you'll see the difference. But when I'm observing or talking to somebody, you know how I know when I know they shit. Like I know they know what they're talking about. This is how I know if they can articulate it in a different way. Like if somebody says something and I say, "Hey, I don't understand that," or "Can you break that down?" and they can do so, that's because they know it. They know the ins and outs of it. So, okay, you didn't understand this way, but I got another way to explain. I got another way to explain. I can articulate things 4 or 5 different ways normally, at minimum 4 different ways. Anything that I say, ask me, try me, test me. I do that on purpose. Like when I develop but the reason I do that is because I know people learn differently, right? That's why I use all these
Right.
different methods. I just don't stick with. I know some people will comprehend the message if I use psychology. Some people comprehend the message if I use philosophy. Some people will receive the message if I use religion, because people intake information differently. They're predicated their experience. Maybe they're not a philosophical person, but this philosophy that I know is similar to this Bible quote, and I know they know that Bible quote. So if I explain this concept from that perspective, they understand it, right? You know what I'm saying? That's
Yeah.
why we use analogies. We will say something, and then we say, for example, and we give an example, which is an analogy. So we, like you just did with the, I like this person. I believe I like this person, but the more I experience this person will determine if I do like or if I don't. But the experience will determine it, right? That's how you get to
Right.
know it. I
Yeah.
know if I believe right now I like it, but as the more I experience this person, I will develop the knowing if I do like this person or if I don't. Because right now I can like this person, might because she had a big butt, big boobs, but then I spent a couple days with her, like, man, this total bitch. I'm straight. I believed I liked her at first, but after the experience, it was proven elsewise. Right? That's basically the example you got. That's an analogy.
Absolutely.
We experienced
Uh,
that, right? So maybe they didn't
Yep.
understand what you were saying at first when you said belief is an elevation. Like you have to elevate from it through the experience. But when you gave that example, it made sense. So that's how you
Yeah,
know
but
somebody, if they just keep regurgitating the same fucking thing over and over. No, they read that shit somewhere or somebody told them and they just keep reciting it and they go keep doing that until you believe what they saying. That motherfucker don't know. They can use all the big words in the book, right? Sound smart as fuck, but they can't articulate it no way. That's because they don't know it. That's a regurgitation. They throwing up some information that they ate earlier. That's all they do. And a lot of people do that shit on here, bro. And they get
Yeah,
mad.
a
That's how,
lot,
like, bro,
a
like when
lot.
people get triggered, yeah, when they get triggered, that's how I know that, like, you don't know what you talking about. That's why you getting mad. No, I'm getting mad at you because you're stupid and you think I well, if you don't even have the social intelligence to see how I comprehend or see how I intake information. Why? Because you think you know every fucking thing. Nah, you can't teach me something if you ain't a teacher, bro. So stop trying. Only thing you can do is make me aware. Don't try to teach me. Just make me aware. Just present the information. I go find, research it myself. But don't sit up here and act like you above me, like you can teach me when you only can recite it one way. You can only articulate it one way. That means you don't know shit. It's simple. You don't know shit, bro. That's how
Yeah,
I usually.
listen.
That's how I usually be, bro.
Yeah, yeah, I totally get that part. The fact that people can't simplify an answer or simplify, the conversation.
And honestly, it might not even be simplifying it. It's just articulating it in a different way. Like just saying it a different way. It might not be somebody. You might say something simple and it's hard for people to comprehend. And you might, say it with a little bit more pizzazz, and oh, that's what it means. I know people like that. Like I can't say simple shit to them because it don't make sense to them. And I'm not gonna lie, those people are very intelligent and they socially awkward. So they only really know like different terminology that associate with whatever they study. So you got to talk to them. You got to talk to those people a different type of way, right? So it's not always like simplifying things. Sometimes like talking to those people make me step my game. You know what I'm saying? Like, damn, I gotta explain it like this. Okay, let me think. Like this shit kind of hard. This motherfucker only know big words. I don't know no simple ass words. I got like two friends like that. Right? It's like and I don't know computer coding, and that's all this dude into. And it's like I gotta explain that shit from like video game status or some shit like that. Like, yeah, I just listen to him all sometimes. Like, I can't even. Yeah. Oh, G still on? Commander, what up, nine? The Minister of General Defense is in the building. Stop playing with me. Stop playing with me. The lady of the nine. What to do with the business is, Sam? There you go. There you go. Oh, don't drop
Man
the
down,
move.
man down. Look, they ain't want me to simplify my answer. They're going Wi-Fi, but but
The
that's
weekly.
the best example that you can give when you trying to like get to that simplification mode. There's no way of defeating that. You know what I mean? You can't. They oh well, A plus B is C. Okay, how did you get to that answer? Because A plus B is C. All right, you don't know how to get it. So you just you use the fake cheat code. You just copied and paste. You ain't do the
Hmm.
investigation. You ain't do the understanding of how A plus B is C. You just ran with it, right? Like how you were saying, sometimes we learn things differently. Like in elementary school, y'all know what I say. The biggest crime in the world is we was told sticks and stones may break our bones, but words will never hurt us. We know that's not true any longer. You go around tell somebody they ugly or they ain't cute or they need to slim down a little bit. They going crazy. They might say you trying to bully them or whatever the case may be. Why? Because constructive criticism could really ruin somebody's life because they don't know how to receive a, 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 a an improvement word. So, you know, and that's like I said, that started in the sandbox. So, we've been taught wrong, right? We all how you say there's a meaning and then there's a definition. It's the same thing as what I'm trying to say, right? Because if you really understood that they meant well by saying that, but at the end of the day, they harmed a lot of people instead of helped them by using that expression.
Like the conversation I was having today, I was explaining how like my grandma now was ignorant um when teaching me belief, right? And it's not negative. People hear the term ignorant and think it's like something mean. No, it's not negative. It's lack of knowledge, you know. And it wasn't by choice. It was just by, that's just what it was. But like I was telling the person I was talking to, if she told me like belief is a process until you get to knowing, I would have never been stuck on belief. I used to be stuck on belief. I used to believe in things and I accepted it as true. And then when I was presented with evidence that it wasn't true, it made me feel some type of way. Like, God damn, man, I wasted all this time. And I didn't like feeling like that. So I started investigating my own beliefs, bro. Like, why do I believe this shit, bro? Oh, because they told me. Okay, now let me go look for my own evidence. No, that shit ain't true. They was tripping on this too. They was tripping on that too. Because it's like, man, when you believe stuff, you want to stand on it, bro. You know what I'm saying? But I ain't about to stand on the hill of shit. I'm not doing that. I'm not gonna stand on the hill of not non-truth. I want to know what's factual, bro. What is real and what is right.
Mhm.
So to do that, I have to investigate myself. You know, that's just how I feel. But that's why, like, when I talk to y'all, like, even what I gave y'all 5 questions. What did I tell y'all? This came from Socrates, bro. You can go look up
Right.
The Socratic method. You can look up the Socratic method, and I put my own. I told you from my perspective of how it can be used. But when you look it up yourself, you know what you gonna see that's useful? Debating people, but I'm utilizing it. So I took what I learned from Socrates or the Socratic method and I applied it to myself. Okay, if I can challenge other
Mhm.
people's beliefs with this, why can't I challenge mine with it? So that's how I utilize it. You know, I use those questions to challenge my own belief. I've been doing that probably for about 9, 10 years. And it gave me clarity because one of them is what would the opposing side, your most harshest critic, what would they say? How would they attack your point? And then you put yourself in that mind state and you start breaking down your own belief. You start looking for evidence against your belief. That's research. That's all it is. It's research. That's how you research it. You look for things that support and things that don't. And whichever one has the most validity usually comes out to be true. That's how you
You
test
try to
things,
patch
bro.
up all of the holes you can. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the thing. People don't want to patch up the holes, right? Like, when we say consistency is vital, right? Shout out to Stoic, right? When you really sit there and think of how consistent you are, right? Can't nobody say, you know what? Word is not who he say he is. They still try to find a thing to nitpick just to discredit who you are. But now that you are being consistent on an everyday basis, it's very hard for them to find something, right? So they rather wait for you to fall
Flip
off
up.
your off your consistency, and then I knew it was going to happen, right? That's why I try to be as consistent as possible. So now if somebody critiques me, like, okay, well, he does this, but he doesn't do it enough. Okay, well, you gotta check the videos. There's 190 shows that I've done. If you feel that I'm inconsistent with it, tell me so I can fix it to become consistent in your not to in your eyes, but because you might be the exception to the rule. You might not like what I'm saying, but that's because you hate the messenger instead of the message. You see what I'm saying? Because you don't want to believe I can be that type of person. You look for any little thing to shoot it down. But when you don't, then you like, all right, well, I'm gonna stop. Then that's when people get mad at you because they can't shoot down your record. They can't shoot down how constant you are in your delivery, how constant you are in what you're saying and your actions and all of those other things, right? That's like somebody coming up here and say, you know what? At the end of the day, uh, word is not a good dad. How could you say that when all he do is be around his kids the majority of the day? He's teaching, he's learning these kids. He's He's teaching and learning from them at the same time. That is the that is the that is the goal of great dads or great parents. You learn and they give you back. Like it's a reciprocation. All right, I didn't know kids could do that. You know how many times you said, I didn't know my son was going to do. I didn't know my son had that much in him like me. But but now you start to watch and learn. That's because you are putting that consistent work in there to where you can see everything. Now you don't believe it. You know what your son is going to do. You know what your daughter is going to do. Why? Because you see the adjustments that they make as you teach them at the same time. That's the difference. If we all was as simple as children, we can adjust and grow just as much as they do. That's why the Bible always tell you, or most parents want you to be their little kid because you can continuously grow and never stunt your growth.
I had somebody on this app, that I was cool with, we were rocking out with. I had somebody on this app told me, basically like I was stealing their ideas. I was buttering biscuits. I was just trying to get close to them to like hurt what they was doing. But I didn't disagree with nothing they said, right? I didn't disagree because my first thought was like maybe they're misinterpreting my actions, or maybe they don't understand why I do this or do that. So what evidence do you have? So they never can provide that, right? They never could. I mean, even saying I'm literally stealing your idea. Well, what idea? No type of fucking evidence. They made like two videos making blanket statements saying I'm doing this, doing that without providing any evidence. And because the person had been through traumatic experiences with other people, and they assumed that the actions or whatever, they never really told me what I did, what I actually did. But I guess it was kind of linear to what they experienced before. So they created the assumption that I was doing these things, or they knew my motivation or intent that I'm trying to hurt them with. But they can never show, and none of my actions on here ever show. I had people attack me, come at me. I don't really care, but I can't do nothing about the way people feel. I mean, sometimes they stop, sometimes they keep going. But the point that I'm making is the actions of a person tell the story, not the words. But people will be so emotionally biased, even in interactions with people, because they experienced something before. And what they not realize is they're creating the condition. They're actually creating those conditions for those things to happen, right? But like someone like me, I be seeing the bullshit, bro, and I'd be like, nah, I'm straight. I'm gonna go left when they expect me to go right. But that's who I am. I don't like drama. Like so, for me to be buttering biscuits
Right.
or getting closer to, I don't like drama. So that's not even in my character in itself for me to do those things. And when people see my consistency, it's hard to say otherwise. That's why I say what I got this thing called quicksand, right? And what it is a concept I created. If you do what you do in the dark, in the light, when the light is shed on your dark, only thing they gonna do is see consistency. They're gonna see you doing the same goddamn thing, right? And that's how you trip people up without doing nothing malicious or trying to hurt people. Uh-oh, Black Dynamite. Hold on, brother. What it do with the
Everybody,
business? What it do with the business is, fam?
hey,
What's
everything's
going on
everything's
with it?
solid gold, solid gold. How's everybody doing?
Doing good,
We
man. Doing
maintain it.
good,
How
bro. Good to
you?
hear from you, man.
Hey, I just want to stop in for a few minutes to say hello to everybody and see how everybody's doing. See how everybody's doing these crazy, crazy times.
You know, man, you a fan favorite over here. People love you over here, man. They get disappointed because you go on your hiatuses. I say y'all just chill and keep coming here, pop in when you're available, man. Don't worry about it, man. That's Black Dynamite, bro. Hey man, he doing things, man. You know how many women on this planet, man? He trying to bang all of them, shit. Like that's Black Dynamite, man.
I tell you, that's how I get my workout. That's how I get my workout. I don't do push-ups. I push up on all the bitches to get them off me every
Right.
morning. That's right. That's right. I
I'll
don't I
be
don't
feeling
need
him,
no
man.
exercise. Yeah, shit.
Yeah. Just tell them to stay tuned. That's what I tell them. Just keep coming, man. When he pop up and see if they ain't hitting, they gonna miss it. They gonna miss that ism. Black Dynamite be spitting, man. But yeah, man, we love you over here, bro. I appreciate you popping up, man.
Yeah, much love back. Much love back. Much love back. What y'all talking about?
We talked about like emotional biases. I was just giving them some ways they can eliminate, emotional biases when they looking at different things. There's some psychological shit.
Yeah, you gotta be able to check yourself and understand that like certain things in your history have caused you to react a certain way, and not necessarily through thought, but just reaction. You know what I'm saying? Like an emotional
Mhm.
reaction to things instead of contemplating it and stepping back. You know?
And that's the thing. That's what I want people to do. I'm trying to get people to think for themselves. And a lot of times we develop them beliefs, right? They tell us stuff, we believe it, and when people go against it, we get emotionally triggered. And instead of responding, we get into a reactive mode.
Yeah. Yeah, you always want to contemplate things before you just react, because that's what separates us from the animals
Hmm.
is
I
freedom
agree
of
with
thought.
that.
Yeah. Yeah, don't get me wrong. There's a time to get, animalistic and run on a little instinct, but then there's a
Hmm.
time you gotta be like Socrates and kind of ponder shit.
Yeah. And that's what I actually was talking about the Socratic method. It's funny you said Socrates. I
There
was
we
talking
go.
about how to apply the Socratic method. Yeah,
Ask,
how to use. They created that for like debate and shit. But
yeah,
that's how you
ask.
question yourself. Check your shit.
Gotta ask why. Why is this
Hmm.
happening? Why am I reacting this way? Why is this person acting this way? You gotta contemplate.
Hmm. Now it's crazy how even you say why. I always say that. Like, let's get to the why. That's what most people don't do. They don't get to the why. They look at the what happened, and how it happened. But
Yeah,
and that wasn't how never leads them to why they stop. They stop at what and how.
gotta analyze every angle of everything. Don't
Hmm.
overthink it, but at the same time, don't just react like an animal, like we've been saying.
Hmm.
It has to be thought into it.
Yeah.
It has to be an understanding as you react. But if you just going off a pure reaction, there's no thought, there's no nothing. You just going for it. That's not the proper answer for the majority of times that happens anyway.
Well, the writers of that show, the Boondocks, they had a skit in one of the shows, in one of the episodes about it. Uh, well, I ain't gonna say the word, but it was called a moment, and it was about
Hmm.
yeah, you all know what I'm talking about. Yeah, I'm not gonna say that word
Yeah.
because
Right.
we on YouTube. But yeah, you don't want to react that harshly and ruin your entire life or throw your life
Yeah.
away because of some ego-driven animalistic instinct. You wanna think about things. You want to stop and step back.
I
I
don't
always say
disagree
it's
with
better to
that.
it's always better to be
Good.
strategical. It's better to say nothing than say the wrong thing. I'd rather say nothing.
Yeah, yeah. Like
Before I say the wrong thing, I'd rather say nothing.
I saw a sketch on YouTube. This guy JD Delay, he did shit. He did like 10 years for stealing cars or something, aggravated assault. And he got out. He turned his life around. He got off drugs. He quit stealing and wheeling and dealing and hustling. And he found a legal hustle, doing the YouTube thing and selling merch and whatnot. And he had a sketch where he was pretending to be two different guys, and one was him and one was some street thug. And the street thug was like bumped into him on the street and was like, "Hey man, you a bitch." And he went, well, let me think about this. Should I knock this guy out, break his jaw, and damn near kill him and beat his ass and do another, 8 to 10 in prison? Or should I walk away because words ain't going to hurt me? I think I'm just going to walk away because words ain't going to hurt me.
You know when words hurt, because Gary made a point too. They say sticks and stones may break my bones, but words would never. You know when words do hurt, when you have insecurities, or that shit is true. That's when the shit hurt. So like if somebody called me a bitch, I'd be like, man, you having a bad day. I go into the scripture. Father, please forgive them for they know not what they do, and I walk away. I'm
Yeah.
straight, bro.
Well, that's
I'm
what
gonna move
Jesus said
on.
on the cross.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Nailed to a cross, beaten for 2, 3 days by the Romans within an inch of his life, and he still had the humility to say, Father, forgive them, they know not what they do.
Mm-hmm.
That just
People
goes to show
ignorant,
how
bro.
consistent he was in his actions, and that's what I'm saying. As long as you consistent with what you do, people it's hard for people to try to deflect of who you are, the character of who you are. They may hate you because
Mhm.
of your message, but they can't say that you wasn't consistent in what you was doing on a daily basis. They just don't like you, so they'll find something else to try to tear you down.
Yeah. And it seems like every man or woman who has preached nonviolence and unity, Mahatma Gandhi, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., that said, hey, let's stop killing each other. Let's focus more on the things that unite us than divide us. What they do, they kill them. And that's all
Mhm.
right. I mean, that's terrible. Don't get me wrong, but I'm saying like it's what we got to keep doing because we keep killing each other. It's just it's gonna end in World War III and nuclear missiles and just all that crazy shit. But I'm saying like if we keep standing for nonviolence, but still holding true to our beliefs and our ideals, the world is gonna get better. It's just gonna take time.
This is what I believe.
That's always gonna
I
be hard to
believe.
do.
I believe in necessary violence.
Yeah.
I believe using violence to oppose violence, but but like you said, we have to get from our violent tendencies. I mean, I think it's a necessary role for violence. I just don't think we need to be practicing that shit all the time because
Yeah,
somebody emotional is get people get emotional and want to hit somebody. I bro, I see people on this YouTube. They have a difference of opinion. The difference of opinion, then they start, hey, I'll box you, I'll pull up. Like, bro, all this shit, like, that just shows lack of intelligence to me. You want to fight me because we don't think the same. I'm straight.
yeah, yeah. Well, who was a philosopher that said violence is the recourse of a weak mind?
Um, that was, dang.
Whoever
I
he
was
was a
gonna say
smart
Plato.
motherfucker.
I was gonna say Plato. I really was. That was the first name that came to my mind.
Yeah, that's the
But
dude
I ain't
that
sure.
he was Socrates'
That's
apprentice.
stupid, yeah. Yeah. Oh, now I'm interested. I don't know if it was Plato. I thought it was,
It's true though.
But that's all of, yeah, that's all a reflection of you having the control of your emotions. As Word would say, your emotional intelligence got to kick in, and once that kicks in, you can be able to not want to put a hand on somebody. You can let that slick word slide, but
Yeah.
you got to have that the intelligence of your emotions to be able to calm it or soothe it, or if you want to let it go, or you want that rage to come out. It's all about your emotional intelligence. But if you don't have it, you're gonna be fighting a whole lot because you don't know how to control yourself.
Well, yeah, and it's like in social media, and if you see in the YouTube comments, Instagram comments, Twitter, X, whatever the hell you call it, TikTok. All right, there'll be people debating, right, or there'll be people arguing, and then it sometimes it ends in we agree to disagree, and they keep it chill. But every now and again, you'll see a man or a woman be like, "Hey, meet me here, let's fight," and that's when you lost the debate. When you got to take it to violence, well, man, come on, just step back, step outside yourself for a minute, step outside your emotions, be the observer. Why do you got to take it to violence?
so Gandhi said violence is a weapon of the weak. The closest I don't see any,
You don't
You
see the
saying that was?
philosopher that says it.
Well, it might have been Mahatma Gandhi. I mean, he was trying to unite Pakistan and India, and a radical Pakistani man walked up and shot him in the gut. You know, I mean, he wasn't no James Earl Ray with a sniper rifle, but you know, he still and fuck James Earl Ray, motherfucker died in prison, way it should have been. And before anybody was like, oh well, he should have been executed for killing Dr. King. Well, you know, rotten for 30 years in prison and not having his freedom. I feel that's a fair trade for taking a wonderful man like Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
You
And
know,
that
even with
that
that,
was
you
the
know,
style
people
too,
people
bro.
yeah, you know, people feel like, you know, take an eye for an eye is not a great a resolution because you just letting them escape from that situation. But if they got to sit there 30 years and they got to think about it, it torments them and all that. That seems to be like the better motive or the better thing to have that person go through because they don't have to feel that no more once you take your vengeance out on in that manner. So they
Yeah.
sitting there like I don't even know why I did that. I don't, you know, but that's the microwave society. Eye for an eye. Nah, let's let them sit there for 45 years. Let him live to be 99, and then he got to think about it for 60 years every
Yeah.
day. Wake up and think about that. That's harsher than this him getting the electric chair or the needle or whatever however they gonna execute him. Let
Hey,
his thoughts execute him.
yeah, and think about this. James Earl Ray for 30, 45 years had to eat shitty food, had to sleep on a shitty mattress, and he ain't get no pussy for 45 years. Fuck him.
Court Mama, what up, though? Liz B in the building. What up, son? Appreciate y'all. So check this out, Black Dynamite. Alexander Berkman said violence is the method of ignorance, the weapon of weak. And then Alex, I can't even pronounce it. Ain't Alexander's Alex Gray, whatever. Dumas said no violence. Violence is the proof of weakness. So those
Yeah.
are two more quotes, like close to what you said.
And notice how they
Aristotle
just say
Dumas.
violence. They don't say self-defense. They don't say defending the weak.
Right.
They say violence. Got to think about that.
Yes, that's the key word. Yeah, to see that. But that's why, you know, a lot of the times we over here we talk about, you know, the way people use words, the word play, the definitions and the meaning. All of that has to come into play because if you don't understand what they're trying to tell you with just one simple word, you just gonna follow suit and miss the whole point of the conversation in the first place. That's why you got to pay attention.
Yeah.
Mm.
Context.
That's big. People don't even look for context. Like just having conversation, like I was saying earlier, people look more to be right in the conversation versus understanding what's right. So like just having like difference of opinion. Shout out to D Trap. We had a good conversation last night. We had a difference of opinions about Charlie Kirk, right? And I ain't beat him down for like what he believed in. And he ain't beat me down. Like I don't think he was a good dude. He think he was misunderstood. And he entitled to think like that. You know, I'm not trying to change his point of view or nothing like that. But I gave him the reasons why I felt like, you know, he wasn't uh shouldn't be elevated to the level of a Dr. Martin Luther King. I'm gonna say it like I gotta, you know, articulate my ideas a little better. So I don't think he should be elevated to a level of Dr. Martin Luther King. And he
He
wasn't
wasn't
crazy.
crazy like that. No, he never took a fire hose to the face. You know, he never sat in a jail cell for months on end with no due process. He never got bit by a damn German Shepherd for some racist Jim Crow Southern cop. But what I would say, at least he was trying to open up dialogue, and
Yeah.
that's what we need. We need more people talking to each other, and just instead of trying to be right, which that's the one mistake Charlie Kirk made is he said, "Prove me wrong." He should have had a sign up that said, "Let's talk." You know,
Yeah.
because it ain't about being right or wrong. It's about hearing each other out. Instead of waiting for your turn to talk, you hear each other out. Let's open up the dialogue.
And that's how
And
it
that's how
should
it
be, bro.
should be, bro. Yeah, he didn't
That's
deserve to
actually
get shot. He didn't deserve to get
no, that's
killed.
cheap.
That's too harsh. But yeah, he should have went about it a little less aggressively. I don't know how to put it. Just let's talk instead of prove me wrong. It's like I was watching this cat, Wyatt. He's from LA. He's in a metal band with a bunch of Mexican dudes called Dark Insanity, right? And he was talking about the Satanic Panic in the 80s, right? Talking about metal and rock bands in the 80s and the panic they generated, right? And he was showing from the late 80s these protesters, these Christian protesters. And now I'm Christian. I ain't got a problem with Christians, but I'm saying he was saying they were outside of a metal show and they were holding up signs and protesting and acting all Westboro Baptist, you're going to hell and shit. And he said instead of doing that, maybe they should have just had a booth outside the metal show saying, "Hey, if you want to talk about Jesus, I'm here."
Yeah.
Just
Yeah,
saying.
would have been more. You more flies.
Yeah, open up a dialogue.
Word, you
Don't worry.
echoing word.
Echo.
Am I echoing?
I don't know. That might be you.
Hold on, let me mute.
Mike. No, is that you, Jim? That might be me. It can be anyone. But I still hear it.
I got the air
Not you
conditioner
off
on.
mute.
Yeah, both of y'all mute real quick. Let me see. Okay, both of y'all muted. I don't hear the echo. So it's one of y'all. You might just have an
Then it
extra
might be
tape.
me.
Mic check.
Mic check.
Mic check.
Mic check. Mic check.
Mic check. Yeah, I think it's you, Black Dynamite. Gary, come off mute. Hold up. Gary, you stay on mute. Black Dynamite, come off mute. Let me see something.
Mic check. Mic check. 1 2 1 2.
It's you, Black Dynamite. Yeah, it's you.
All right, so I'll stay muted when I ain't talking.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, y'all rock out for a minute. I gotta grab something on my son's room. Well, I gotta fix something.
Yeah, like I said, it's just the simplicity of just trying to gain. If people would stop trying to be right, they want to be right instead of making it right. It can simplify a lot of things, right? If we can all just sit down and say, you know what, let's find common ground on why we love Jesus, or why we think Jesus did the right thing, or whatever it is. If we could sit down and come to that conversation, you can find common ground. Of course, you're not going to agree with everything, so you can always agree to disagree. Yet at the same time, if you just have the conversation, you'll find that you have more in common than you do as far as being that far separated. And then you can, like I said, you can lay your foundation and build from there. That's only if you trying to make the situation right or make it right. As long as you trying to be right, that's where debates come in. That's where you trying to ruffle somebody's feathers. That's when you're trying to prove somebody wrong. It's not about proving somebody wrong. It's trying to get it right. Is where we should be trying to focus on in the first place. But everybody wants to be right, and when you try to be right, these are the outcomes that you're going to come against.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. All right, and we got a checklist we got to go through. So, all right, you look at people who got killed. Okay, well, let's see. Let's go through the checklist. Did they preach nonviolence? Check. Did they preach unity? Check. Did they preach listening to one another? Check. Did they still get killed anyway? Check. That's when you know that person is a martyr for the cause of love, for the cause of unity.
I
I
just,
agree with
I, I,
that.
I totally agree with that.
That gives you a barometer for, actually. Bro, what the hell? Buy him a new partner. Fucking TV. I gotta buy another one. Kids, boy, kids. Make you spend a ton of money.
Commander, what up, Nine? I ain't even see you in the cuts. Chat, where you at?
Yeah, there's a Liz B in the building. Shout out to Liz B.
Hey, Liz. But that's what the fact that, like I said, people have to understand, in order for situations to come to be a harmonious situation, we have to humble ourselves in order to grow. I know people don't like using the word submit. I spoke about this the other day. I know people don't like using the word submit, but if you understand, you lessen yourself in order to get to the greater picture. Submitting should never be a problem. It can only lead to a bigger solution. But everybody don't want to see that. They just see somebody, they see the word submit, and they feel like you folded to somebody that's in uh, superior, or whatever the case may be. That's not what it always is. You can submit to something in order to come to a greater good. Like if you work with somebody, you're not losing your individuality. You're coming together because the common goal is what you're working on. You can still be your individual self, but you're working together now, and you lower yourself, and the other person lower themselves to get to the greater good. That's not a bad thing, but because we use the word submit in that form of fashion, we always going to see it as a negative entity instead of a balance or an encouraging word.
I
I,
think
I
most
think
people
most
use.
people.
Oh, my bad. Go ahead, Black Dynamite.
Oh, okay. Well, I was going to say, as far as submission goes, I submit to Jesus Christ because he's my Lord and Savior, and he was born perfect and without sin, and is the Son of God. Now, but the problem was when he came out and started preaching in his late 20s, that people started saying, okay, well, what are you going to do about the Romans? What are you going to do about all these different forces oppressing God's chosen people? And he said, I'm going to love them. I'm going to preach nonviolence against them. I'm going to do all of these loving, productive things. And they went, no. We want a warrior king. We want someone to kill the Romans and drive them out of the Holy Land and drive them out of Israel. And he said that's not what I'm here for. And a lot of people shut him out because of that, because he was preaching nonviolence. They didn't understand that it wasn't a war in the terms of you have to kill your enemy. It was a war in the terms of you have to love your enemy. They didn't
Yeah.
understand, and they weren't willing to submit to that.
And see, I was about to say, I think it's how people apply it. When you use terms like submit, they use it as a blanket. Like but it's how you apply it. Like I personally submit to facts. I submit to it. If it's true, it's true. I can't, if there's evidence behind it, then it is what it is. I can submit to it, no problem. But I don't have to submit to the person. I don't have to submit to people. Like he said, he only submit to Jesus Christ. He ain't submitting to the people, but if a person presents facts, then I can submit to that. No problem.
Y'all hear the story of the Roman soldier who pierced the side of Christ?
Hmm.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, wait, y'all know about that, but you might not know his story after he pierced the side of Christ. So I guess this cat, he had he would have worn glasses if they had glasses back then. Real quick, I'm gonna give you like a 1 minute anecdote. So he got splashed with the water of our Savior, okay? Because he had barely any blood. The Romans had been torturing him for like 3 days. That cat nine tails shit you see in Passion of the Christ, that happened.
Yeah.
They put him through the ringer. Okay, so he gets hit with some of the water from Christ's body, right in the eyes, right in the eyes. And then the next day, his vision was perfect after Jesus died. Okay. A week later, his vision was beyond perfect. He could see colors people weren't even seeing. So he started going around and he quit as a Roman soldier, right? And then he went around and he started preaching the gospel of Christ. Okay, and Pontius Pilate's lieutenants came up to him and said, "Hey man, you got to quit doing this. Like, stop. All right." And he said, "Yeah, sure, I'll stop. Whatever." And walked off. And the next day went back and started preaching the glory of Christ, the gospel of Jesus. And then they found him a couple of days after that, and they took it to extremes. They cut out his tongue, right? And they said, "Ha ha ha! Preach the glory of God now. Preach the gospel of Jesus now." Well, the next day he woke up and he didn't have a tongue, but he went around Jerusalem and kept preaching. But they said his voice was different. They said his voice was thunderous. They said his voice echoed like he had a megaphone to catch the thunder of God, right? And so they said, okay, screw this. They captured him. They brought him before Pilate and the other lieutenants into a Roman temple filled with statues of the Roman gods, right? And they said, if you do not renounce Jesus Christ and his teachings, we will cut your head off right now. And he yelled, Jesus Christ is Lord, and there is nothing you can do about it. And it thundered through the Roman temple. Now, there was an earthquake, and it did not destroy the temple, but every statue of every Roman god and goddess fell over, and heads all got lopped off as they hit the ground. And they were so freaked out, they decapitated him right there. And the rumor is he was smiling as he got decapitated.
And that was in I forgot who it was, a historian who told that story. I don't think it was in a book, if I'm not mistaken. Um, it wasn't Josephus. It was the other dude. But that was documented. With the story you told was historically documented. Um, I think you get. I forgot the start Archelius or some shit like that. I can't remember his name, but that story was told. But that reminded me of when I lost my eyesight. I just felt like God needed to limit my vision so I can have focused vision. Now my vision is focused. I'm more focused than I was when I was seeing the world whole. Now that I'm seeing it through limited sight. But that was the whole goal. I mean, that's my goal anyway. Um, it's to perceive the world from my own perception and not what other people think. And me losing majority of my eyesight gave me that. I don't really see what other people do because I got to focus on what I'm doing now. It's like no choice. I have to focus on what I'm doing. For me to focus on what other people doing, I have to take my eyes off what I'm doing to see what they're doing. So, yeah, that's what that story reminded me of. It's like me losing my eyesight. Majority of my eyesight, I still can see. You know.
I pray for you that you get better, brother. Definitely.
Oh, I've been great. I'm great, man. I have no I have no quarrels, bro. I have there's no bitterness attached to it. I have no strife and nothing. I'm at peace, a total peace. Everything happened for a reason. Everything is a divine plan, bro. And I see um, most people focus on what they don't have, but I always see what I gain from a loss. I'm accustomed to looking at the gain, even if it's just empty space. Because if I lose something and now it creates space, it just creates space for something better to come. That's just how I look at life, man. So whatever I lose, I also gain. I never worry about. I don't worry about losses. Nothing is. I mean, honestly, bro, nothing is promised to us, bro. Ain't shit promised to us. Ain't shit guaranteed. You know what I'm saying? So, like anything that we can possibly material gain, we don't leave with that shit, bro. You spend all this time gaining all this material shit just to leave it behind anyway. Bit crazy, bro.
Well, there's a rockabilly band from Orange County, California called Social Distortion. Their singer Mike Ness, he got a track on the one of the newest albums, and it says you never see a hearse with luggage rack. You know, you can't take it with you.
Mm. Riders, what up, though? Hey, Commander, it's crazy that you said that because I was having a conversation with somebody today, and I told them like, "Nah, bro, I'm supernatural," and they was like, "Prove it." And I'm like, all right, bro, just look at my life, man. Just look at me, bro. I'm supernatural, man.
That's
And that's not
why,
like
I
that's not like me saying I'm God or being conceited about nothing. But I just know where I'm at, in life. And I know people been through less than me and they can't overcome. I mean, they can't overcome. And people been through more and are in better positions than me. So I don't think I'm like special to a point like I can do things no one else can do. I just choose to do things what very few do. That's how I look at it. It's just my choice. The path that I take is less traveled.
it is less travel because you like people don't understand. We are all walking testimonies, right? You have the ability to to lose but gain something. That's why when people don't understand, when you at your weakest, you at your strongest. Why? Because you have nothing else to do but elevate yourself into a strength that you didn't have at that when you started, right? So you going through your situation, you going through your test, like you don't really understand how much you encourage people, not because of what happened in the past. Is about what you doing today, right? All right, you say two wrongs don't make a right? But if you doing right, it erases the wrong, and it allows you to focus on you elevating into the best version of yourself. Whether people agree or disagree, it doesn't matter. You are being very consistent with elevating yourself. You can forgive that person for doing this. You can forgive somebody for cursing you out. Why? Because you felt like you lost so much that there's nothing else for me to gain but to gain the encouragement of being a better person, not stooping down to somebody's level, but to always elevate yourself away from the chaos, away from the mayhem, and finding your peace. And that's why a lot of us appreciate you for the things that you do on a daily basis. That's what makes you a awesome person. That's what makes you, you know, a miracle person, because anybody else would have gave up. You found a way to elevate in spite of, and that's why we appreciate it.
I appreciate y'all, man. I really do. Riders, what up, though, Nine? What up, son? Appreciate you. Riders in the building. Ride or die. Yeah, man. But yeah, I can't stay on too long tonight, bro. I gotta get off here in a minute. My wife will be mad. Yeah, I'm gonna be quiet. But anyway, yeah, I want to keep the wife happy. So,
All right.
and what did Unc say on what you call it on next Friday when his girl told him to come up to the room? Yeah, all right. Yeah, well, let me get my butt off here. But I appreciate y'all coming through rocking out, though. Man. I really do. I want to go stay on too long tonight. I just wanted to pitch that and get man. If y'all ain't here, I didn't post it or put it on the thing, but if you go back to the beginning of the video, you hear the 5 Socratic method questions that you can ask yourself, or you can ask other people. Like I ain't gonna say if you're in a debate, but if you're in a discussion and you want to test to see if people know what they're talking about, you can ask them 5 Socratic questions. You can also ask yourself, when you have a belief you want to challenge, ask yourself those questions. Is it true? Like, what evidence do I have? What I believe is true? Um, what am I assuming? Like, out of all the information, what is assumptions versus fact? Um, damn, I can't think off the top of my head. Hold on. Oh, perception. Like, perception shifting. Can you argue the opposite side of your beliefs? What are the logical consequences of your idea? What is your idea lead to? Ask yourself those questions, and ask other people those questions too when they try to convince you to believe in something without giving you facts. That's how you break their ass down. You know. But yeah, my bad, Black Dynamite. You want to say something, brother?
Oh, I know you gotta go, and I gotta go too, but I just wanted to say, everybody out there, uh, accountability is very important. Okay, there's two types of people in the world. I've been saying this. I was telling Bullhorn this, Honeybee this yesterday, and Cream Corn, that dumbass Cream Corn. Anyway, there's two types of people in the world. The kind of people that go, okay, I was wrong, I fucked up, I'm gonna do what I can to admit that, and that takes a lot for Black Dynamite to admit that he fucked up. But damn it, I fucked up trusting them CIA people. But whatever. Anyway, you say I'm wrong, I'll do what I can to reverse it and try to make it better, and I'm sorry. And then there's the type that go, no, I ain't wrong, no, I never did anything wrong, and shut up, and no, it's your fault. So don't be those people that don't take accountability for their actions. Please. It takes a lot for Black Dynamite to say please, but I'm saying it because it'll heal the world when you can just admit you fucked up and you're going to make things better.
And that's facts, bro. That's all motherfucking facts. And I like how you said, two type of people. I always say, I don't justify bad behavior, even in myself, right? If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. The whole point is getting things right. And to get it right, you have to admit when you're wrong. You know what I'm saying? So I agree 100% with that, bro. 100%, man.
Thank you. And thank you for having me on. You have a great night and much love, one love, much respect.
Appreciate you, brother. You have a better night, bro. You have a better night. Hey, man. I appreciate everybody coming through tonight, bro. This was just it was a quickie, even though we went 2 hours. It was a quickie, man. I appreciate y'all rocking out with me. But y'all know what I always say, man. Care about how you feel. These are conversations that create nation. And if I say anything to resonate with you, do me a favor. Hit that share button. Tell somebody. Help me spread the word. Well, but until next time, man, that's all I got, bro. I done gave y'all everything I had tonight. Y'all got it now, so y'all good. Have a good one. But that's it. That's all I got. I ain't got nothing else. No.
Peace out. Peace out.
Do it for the 9.
What up, 9?
Acknowledge me!